People in the comments have been asking me about these GIK panels behind me for a long time, and after a few years of using them, I'm actually taking them down, just to move them to a different part of the studio because I have some more GIK panels going back here. Quite possibly the most underrated investment to make in your studio is acoustic treatment. You've got all this advice online about how the cheap stuff doesn't actually do much good, but nicer panels that actually do a good job can get pretty expensive. But in addition to sharing about my experience with GIK Acoustics, I want to give you some clarity on this subject as someone who has bought the cheap foam, who has invested a chunk of money into nicer panels, and who's also made my own panels without being in a big commercial studio. So a few years ago, Abby and I moved into our first home, and at the time, I had absolutely zero acoustic treatment. I think I was in denial for a bit, but looking back, I was fighting a lot of unwanted room in my recordings, and I would also spend an embarrassing amount of time running through the house to do the infamous car test. I kind of knew that I'd need some acoustic treatment eventually, but it was just so hard to spend that money on treatment rather than upgrade my audio interface or something like that. Let me know in the comments if you've ever felt the same way. Long story short, I came across GIK Acoustics from watching Eldre's YouTube videos, big shout out to him, and I finally invested a chunk of money into some acoustic treatment for my bedroom studio. Years later, I'm now in the shed studio, and I knew that I had some pretty big gaps to fill acoustically, so I knew exactly who to reach out to. Whenever you're looking into getting acoustic treatment from GIK, you have the option, before you even commit to ordering anything, to get a free consultation where you tell them what you're using the studio for and some pictures of the studio, and they will give you a customized plan for treating your studio. Both times that I've done this, they came up with a really detailed plan for the room, and budget didn't necessarily allow for complete execution of that plan, but here's what I ended up going with this time around. First and foremost, we wanted to improve the area around my desk. Previously, I had these GIK Impression Series panels, which do a great job with absorbing some of that low end, but there's also a bit of diffusion going on with these wood plates. So we really wanted to focus on absorption on this front wall, as well as gaining some more coverage and thickness. So James from GIK specifically recommended that we go as thick as possible when it comes to the bass trapping. So I went with the Flex Range bass trap panels, 2 of them being 4 inches thick and 2 of them being 8 inches thick, which is kind of nuts. Abby was kind of making fun of me when she first saw these panels just because they're literally twice as thick as anything else I've had in the studio, but the purpose is to get even better low end control, so I'll be all right. The Flex Range panels came with some very sturdy wire, which made installing them pretty easy, almost like hanging a gigantic picture on the wall. For the back wall, we again wanted to go as thick as possible, but here we wanted to use the Amplitude Series bass traps, which are the same size as the Flex Range that I have on the front wall, but these have a wooden plate on the front to add a bit of diffusion, and they just look really cool. The Amplitude Series is very similar to the Impression Series, which is what I ordered from them a few years ago, but instead of a plate screwed onto the front of the panel, they're actually recessed into the panels, which is really nice. Now, I could have gone with the exact same design and colors as my old Impression panels, since I'm still using those in the studio, but I thought it'd be cool to add a bit of blue to the space and complement some of the nature colors I have going on here, specifically this Roné fabric that I ordered for all of the new panels. Now, I am gonna get into the whole cheap foam versus DIY panels versus something like what GIK has to offer, but first let's address what I'm still missing after this transformation. Like I said before, James gave me a very detailed acoustic design plan along with the explanation behind each decision, which was very informative. The original plan included corner traps, new panels for the ceiling, as well as new panels for my early reflection points, which would essentially be where the sound hits these walls and then hits my ears. Then these narrow impression panels would be repurposed, probably filling some more gaps around the room. Because of budget, I'm sticking with the narrow impression panels for now, but I'd like to go a bit wider with the coverage here. But when I do, will I buy some more panels from GIK, or will I just save some money and make my own? So let's talk about the differences between these options. Cheap acoustic foam is cheap, it's less intimidating, less of an investment, and it's something that you see in a lot of home studios. But the problem with that stuff is that it doesn't realistically do too much. Acoustic foam can help absorb some of the highs, but where a lot of people in small spaces struggle the most is build up in the low end, which thin foam panels just aren't designed to handle. Whereas premium acoustic panels, like I've talked about in this video, are made to give you more control over those excess frequencies. There's also a bit more flexibility when it comes to acoustic panels versus acoustic foam, because you can really work with your budget and how thick you can realistically order given the amount of space you have in your room. But what I've gathered in doing my own research and based on what James from GIK told me, it seems like you would be better off buying some panels, even if you have to do it in baby steps, and then place them strategically in your space, rather than just getting a bunch of cheap foam and placing it all over the place. Now, the same can be said about making your own versions of these panels. I actually attempted to make some square-ish acoustic panels when I moved into the studio about 1.5 years ago, and I will say, they turned out all right, but they're not perfectly square, and they took me quite a while to knock out 6 of them. It's a pretty simple design, as a standard panel is essentially a wood frame with absorbent material inside and covered up with a material that is porous enough for the sound to get in and be absorbed by the inner core. I think anyone can technically do it. It just may take some people longer than others. For the next phase of this build, I will likely end up spending the extra money to order from GIK again versus building my own, just because I value the ability to order something exactly how I want it and not have to spend the time to do it myself and mess up and revise and repeat that process over again. But if you don't get anything else from this video, here's the important bit. Do not underestimate what acoustic treatment can do for your studio. Whether you're building your own panels or buying from someone like GIK, it's a worthy investment. The more you can get a handle on the acoustics in your space, the more detail and accuracy you'll be able to hear, because it's not being masked by a buildup of excess frequencies. And when it comes to recording, you'll also save a lot of time fixing unwanted natural reverb in post. I'm all about doing what needs to be done to make sure I'm not spending extra time on stuff that could be addressed early on. If you want to check out GIK, there is a link down in the description where you can get started on that free acoustic consultation. If you're even considering any acoustic treatment, I'd recommend starting there because it's free and will eliminate a lot of the guesswork. After you do that, check out this video where I break down the 5 worst home studio money pits. And as always, thanks for hanging out.